Hey everyone, I'm Cary Smith and I'm sitting here with Cheri Turner, and we're
Everyone.
both with Client First Capital. And today we're talking about the new Department of Labor Fiduciary Rule. And so, Cheri, you and I have both done a little bit of reading about this, but I consider you, more of the expert than I am. So I've got some questions for you about the
Sure.
Fiduciary Rule.
Okay.
So, first of all, maybe a really good place for us to start and get grounded is if you could just define exactly what is a fiduciary.
Sure, absolutely. And in kind of preparation for this, I wanted to make sure that I gave a good, clear, concise definition for this. So I went to Investopedia and looked it up. According to Investopedia, a fiduciary is a person or organization that acts on behalf of others and has a legal and ethical duty to put their interests first. Now, this definitely is accurate and thorough, but I didn't feel like it really encompassed the impact of what a fiduciary is and what they do. So, you know this about me, Cary, but I actually enjoy writing poetry. And I've started exploring a little bit lately with writing poetry about financial concepts. So, this kind of drove me to write a poem about fiduciaries. So, I'm going to read it to you, and hopefully, it'll explain it a little bit more detail. Fiduciaries. In the realm of finance, a fiduciary's crown, a trusted advisor who won't let you down. Their legal duty is to put you first. They're bound by ethics, where trust is nursed. They guide your investments with trust and tact, acting in your best interest. That's a fact. Unlike others who put their gains ahead, a fiduciary's loyalty is to you instead. Others in finance want to maximize their fees, but a fiduciary's desire is to please. Others will suggest might be suitable and true, but may never even tell you what's best for you. In the world of finance, where sharks do roam, a fiduciary's light can guide you home. So when choosing a professional, remember this rhyme and pick a fiduciary every single time.
Cheri, that's so good. I have heard a few of your poems. That one might be at least my current favorite. And so,
Thank you.
yeah, that's really good. And
Thank
um,
you.
and so now I don't know if you have just set a new standard that you're going to have to answer all of my questions in rhyme. Uh,
Oh, hopefully not. I didn't come prepared for that.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, so the next question I have is, so what is the new fiduciary rule? And also, how does that differ from the current rule or what's known as the suitability rule?
Sure. So first of all, kind of the objective of the fiduciary rule is to really provide to strengthen the retirement security of Americans, because unfortunately, so many people in leaving their workplaces and transitioning their funds aren't always making the best choices. And sometimes this leads to them losing a significant percentage of their retirement funds. So this is a move by the government to really protect people's retirement funds. So currently, fiduciaries, who include investment advisors, trustees, and board members, they are legally bound to do what's best for you. However, people who primarily, the others who are infected by this are primarily insurance agents and providers. They currently operate by what's considered a suitability standard. Their only requirement is that the product they recommend to you is suitable and meets your needs, not necessarily the best thing. So if there's two different products they're looking at for you, and this one has the greatest benefits or maybe is less expensive, and the other is not as good, however, they can win some contest for a trip to Hawaii by selling you this one. Well, they're more likely to give you that one, even though it didn't meet your needs the best. So that's what's considered the suitability standard. And part of what's going to be affected here, because it is primarily the insurance individuals, is it's mostly affecting life insurance and annuity transactions.
Okay. So, at Client First Capital, we are fiduciaries. We've been fiduciaries, right? And so the fiduciary standard is not new to us. For others in the industry, they have fallen under the suitability standard, and so they've had a little more flexibility and didn't really have an elimination of the conflicts of interest, right?
Right.
So I could be looking at a couple of different options for your investments. One of them maybe pays a higher commission for me or has some other incentives. The other one might have lower expenses and be better, but I could actually recommend either one because they're both technically suitable for you, right?
Right.
And so it sounds like the key difference is the industry is really trying to eliminate conflicts of interest from the person who's giving you advice,
Right.
which I think most of us would agree, especially if you're a consumer, that this would be a positive move.
Right. And to that end, part of what they're doing is they're actually eliminating things like quotas and contests just to eliminate that conflict of interest temptation.
Yeah, that's great. Um, so when does this go into effect? I know it was passed last week in April 2024, but when does it go into effect? What's the lead
So it's
time?
actually set to start taking effect this September of 2024, with some of the later impacts rolling out through 2025.
Okay. That seems really fast, right? For a change this big for the industry to have to put into place. Again, if you're already a fiduciary like we are, there's no change. But there's a lot of firms out there that are going to have to change the way they operate and the way they measure their their reps, right?
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
and putting this in place. So I'm sure there's people who are opponents to the fiduciary rule,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so what are the opponents saying?
So definitely the insurance industry is coming up against it, and they're opposing it or expected to oppose it legally. And primarily they are objecting to the fact that the role of a fiduciary is a trusted advisor. And so there's a challenge against the definition of trusted. And according to them, being trusted implies an ongoing relationship. Whereas what changes with this law is that it now not only applies to a financial advisor who is working ongoing, but it applies to these one-time transactions that we mentioned of annuities and life insurance transactions. So it would then apply to those. So for that reason, they are expected to object to preserve some of their income.
Okay, great. Well, I think you've given us a really good, idea of the change and how important it is. Some of the things that you've said in this conversation is this is a higher standard, right? That financial advisors will be held to, and anyone who's giving you advice. And the purpose is to protect, our retirement accounts and our savings, right?
Yeah.
What other final thoughts do you have before we close out?
Gosh, for me, I just feel so passionate and so strong about being a fiduciary that I would say to anybody out there, anytime that you're going out there and speaking with any professional, any financial professional, the first question I would ask is, are you a fiduciary? And if they're not, why would you take that risk? If you're dealing with a fiduciary, you know that they're going to make that, or at least present the best option to you. You can still pick whatever you want, but they're obligated to present that best option. And so why wouldn't you?
Yeah, great. And so, yeah, so if you have a choice of working with someone who's legally obligated to put your interests first ahead
Right.
of their own, right?
Hmm.
Then why wouldn't you
Hmm.
work with that person?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what, Cheri, thank you for your insights and everything that you shared with us about this new rule. At Client First Capital, again, we are fiduciaries. We have been all along. And so, however, if you're interested in topics like this or other topics dealing with investing or finances, we have a monthly newsletter, and a lot of our readers have given us feedback on just how valuable they find our articles. So subscribe to our monthly newsletter, or if you want to have a conversation with us, just reach out. We'd be happy to have a conversation with you or even schedule a meeting. But with that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks, everyone. Cheri?
Thank you, Cary. Thanks, everybody.